So I had prepared this sheet mainly for my own benefit when I'm developing the topic. I've been looking at this this question about, make the switch. So, it's a bit of a frivolous, the whole thing is maybe to some degree frivolous, but I wanted to try to communicate that our experience can be transformed sometimes very quickly by changing the basis in which we are, from which we are looking at something. And this is, this process is, to some degree, I haven't tried to spell out this process today. What I've been mainly trying to do was to put forward the importance of the mental attitude, and then giving some examples of how that mental attitude colours our perception of the object and then colours our experience. And I think that once we have fully accepted that point, once we have really accepted that my mental attitude is key to the way that I am perceiving the world and the way that I see my behaviour to others, what the reasoning is for that behaviour. My behaviour towards others is based on my perception of the world. And then to be able to come to the realisation that my perception of the world is not dictated by the physical experiences. The physical experiences, our circumstances, the people we interact, the other people, the circumstances, our work, our career, our society, politicians, the neighbour, the plants, the animals, whatever, that our experience is not wholly dictated by that experience, but it is formed by the interaction of my mental attitudes and that object. So to me, that is a total leap in understanding. It's such a different understanding to fully accepting the appearance of the world to us, but we unfortunately not only accept the direct appearance of the world to us, but we then embellish that appearance, and then we attribute that embellishment to actually coming from the object. We have poisoned the appearance of the object by my own embellishment and exaggeration. So, if there's a key point, the key point that I'm trying to communicate today is the idea that the more that we can understand how my mind is interacting with objects, the more that I can then see that there is actually a path to altering my experience of the world. We can see that there is a path. Okay. So this is a little listing, how to make the switch. Unhappy to happy. Right? We don't have that. The reality is we don't actually have that switch. We actually don't have a switch to go unhappy, happy. But what we do have is, if we understand how unhappiness and happiness are due to the particular type of mind that I have and the way that it holds an object and the way that I'm perceiving that object, and then due to that whole combination, I then am the experiencer of either happiness or unhappiness. And so if I can change my perception and change the type of object that I'm holding, then my experience can change. And it can change instantly. You know, we do have the ability to instantly switch from anger and hatred to compassion and love and affection. If we can change the way that I'm holding the object, this coupling of the mind and its object, if I can change that, then I can instantly switch from hatred to compassion. So, and I think the key ingredient here is to make this switch from being dominated by external focus to progressively adopting the internal focus, you know, and that we can progressively, you know, see that my own attitudes and my own mind are distorting the appearance of the external world to me. So in the morning, you know, my partner appears pleasant. I'm grateful to see them. There's a degree of happiness and some affection based on the pleasant appearance, the pleasant words, you know, whatever, different circumstances. Maybe I offered a cup of tea and it was gratefully accepted, and out of that I experienced some pleasure and happiness. And so there's this sort of idea of some happiness. Then during my day I engage in work or some activity, interact with other people, and progressively I have let that annoy me and disturb me, you know. And it's been progressive. I've just gradually got more and more annoyed during the day, until then the moment I go home, my mind is habitually, you know, I've been habituating my mind to some disturbance, engaging in it, cultivating it. And so my mind itself has this habit of disturbance, and so everything that I see becomes coloured by that disturbance. And so when I walk in the door at home, my partner says, "How was your day?" Or doesn't say it, or whatever, but because of the habituation in my mind, there is nothing about the appearance of my partner that appears pleasant, and there is nothing from what they say that appears as pleasant to me, because my mind has been distorted by an habituation, which we blame. We blame that habituation on the various events that happen to me during the day. So we blame the events. We don't blame my mind for engaging in those events in the way that it has, but we blame the events. So that's something to examine. We blame the events, my mind is disturbed, and then my disturbed mind colours the appearance even of my partner, who effectively has remained unchanged from the morning to the evening. So to then see that my own apprehension of that person is different from one time to the next time, not based on change in that person, but based on a change in my mind. So to really understand that the change in my mind can really change my apprehension of another person. So, and I think the more that we can understand that, the more that this whole thing can come home to see that the responsibility is for me to work on my attitudes, understand my habituations, and do something to change that mode of the way things appear to me, because they are discoloured by my habituations, whether exaggerated or diminished. So whether desirous or hatred or anger. So as we were talking before. So I've got this whole thing, how to make the switch. External focus to internal focus, I think, is the absolute key. Anger to love and compassion, self-cherishing to cherishing others, exaggeration to reality. So particularly, say, with the desirous object. The desirous object appears to me to be absolutely, completely the source of happiness and pleasure. You know, that it's... if I tried to describe it, I would say that every aspect of the appearance just sings pleasure and delight to me. You know, that excessive, desirous, lustful attachment to an object or to a person. The recollection, the voice, the walk, the appearance, the shape of the hand, the shape of the neck, whatever. You know, we can exaggerate unbelievably the object to be this true source of pleasure and happiness, fulfillment, purpose, all these sort of terms. You know, you had me from hello, you know, that sort of extreme desirous, apprehension that people have, we all have. Right? So, exaggeration. This is exaggeration. Desire, in particular with desire, we can say that the culprit is exaggeration. That there might be some quality in the person or the object, something which is of some value, but we exaggerate it till that totally pervades and represents entirely that object that we are looking at, and all of the, say, less perfect aspects or the reality of the object, all of the other aspects are just completely denied. They're completely pushed to the side as though they're non-existent. And so then, because of that exaggeration, then my desirous mind is totally convinced of the perfection of the object. But it has conveniently left out a whole lot of stuff which is actually the reality of the object. And so in terms of antidotes, the antidote to the desirous mind is to let go of the exaggeration and look at the reality. We don't have to fabricate faults. We don't have to fabricate less attractive elements, because every object has those less attractive aspects. We just have to remind ourselves of them, and then that reality hopefully will penetrate through our desirous mind and subdue it. And that meditation, so that's a traditional meditational practice. So that meditational practice we also can apply to ourselves, because we have an apprehension of ourselves as a form of maybe physical nicety or perfection, and so we then can generate pride and maybe even a sense of superiority about our appearance or our physicality, our presentation, our carriage, our stature, our shape, our figure, whatever. We can develop a pride, but it's based on an exaggerated, narrow selection of attributes which we have embellished and exaggerated. And so if we can apply a sense of reality to that appearance, then we can diminish this sort of arrogant pride or self-importance in our appearance. So the sort of thing that I'm talking about here is there are meditations where you contemplate your body, and one side of your body you see as just the bones, the bones of your own body. And then the other side is just the flesh and the organs of your body. And you mentally look at the reality of your body. And so that shatters this sort of fantasized appearance thing of your body of being this beautiful thing, that's an object of pride and an object of competitiveness to other people, because you're actually looking at your body in its actual real state. And so there's no basis there to find for pride in the way that you view your body in relation to others, the way you view your hair or your face or your eyes, your teeth or whatever, your shape of your body, the shape of your head, whatever it is. There is no basis there to sustain that pride. So that's an antidote. That's the way you can apply an antidote to your own condition. So the next one, abuse. It's shorthand. This is a little bit shorthand. So I'll just explain this. There's a verse in the 8 verses of thought transformation, which goes, when others out of jealousy treat you with abuse, insults and the like, then offer,
accept the harsh words.
Yeah, accept the harsh words and offer the other the victory. So, again, this is an antidote behaviour. And why would we do this? So why would we do that? Somebody is insulting me, abusing me, and in this case we are attributing it to jealousy. From their side, we are attributing it to jealousy. So our natural inclination is to stand up for I'm standing up for my rights, I'm standing up for my, I'm not putting up with this, that's our natural feeling. Is you can't say that, standing up like this, fighting, So our mind, if you look at it, the mental experience that we have in that moment is disturbed. It's antagonistic. It's aggressive. It's reactionary. It's confrontational. And all of those mental states are unpleasant. So the alternative that's offered in this thought transformation is accept the abuse, and give the victory to the other. Okay, there's no question that is a real challenge to our normal way of behaviour, and even what we might think is the normal convention in society, that is unconventional. So the challenge here is for us is to actually examine in our own experience whether this works or not. And the only way to understand whether it works or not is to have a go with this approach, to really engage in this. You got that?
I knew someone that she was abused at work, in that way, not respected, was appreciated, etc. And she tried to do just what you suggested, to keep quiet, to give the other guy, the feeling that they are really good, etc. It didn't help. She had to leave work.
Yeah, so the example is about somebody tried this and it didn't work. Okay, so look, we will all go through the circumstance where we might try this and it won't work. We will go through that circumstance. We will go through the circumstance of where I'm really angry and I try to apply love and compassion and it doesn't work. You know, we will all go through the circumstance of I'm really angry and I try to apply patience and it doesn't work. We will all go through that. That does not mean that that antidote is not the antidote to the circumstance. It may mean that within halfway through, I've said, there's no way I'm putting up with this. There's no way I'm giving them the victory. You know, what do you mean I'm giving them the victory, but in my mind I am seething with anger? That is not the practice that we're talking about here. What we're talking about is, in your mind, give the other the victory. Not just remain quiet. So the practice is not remain quiet and sit like a lamb. That's not the practice. The practice is, in your mind, accept the words, accept them, and give them the victory. But what happens though is our own habituation to retaliation, our own habituation to treating an insult as something that has to be fought against, that habituation triumphs, and so we then lash out, we become resentful and we become unforgiving, and so we then find ourselves in a circumstance where, well, I've got to leave, I've got to change, this is not working.
And isn't that also giving the victory to others? Maybe
No.
Right that did change in the person left.
Well, we'd have to check the person's mind. So, yeah.
I actually think that you can only really do this practice from the point of view of strength, not from the point of view of weakness.
Yeah.
Because when you do it from the point of view of weakness, it's submission. It's actually teaching the other one that they can behave better. But if you do it from the point of view of strength, the energy of the situation is completely different.
Look, there's a couple of things. I'll say I partly agree with you, but that point about you've given the other person what they wanted, that is a misconception that needs to be examined. Okay, that one sentence, I'd encourage you to examine that concept. By being quiet and giving them the victory, you've given them what they wanted.
No, I didn't say that. I said giving the victory to others wholeheartedly, as you said, in my mind, from the point of view of strength. My own strength. It's not, I'm not doing this because I submit and I feel.
Yeah, that bit I was agreeing with you, that it comes from a position of strength. But there was a phrase in there about talking about the other person getting what they wanted.
No, I experienced it in my life that I did it the other way. I gave the victory before to just explain it somehow like that. Like just withdrawing and being quiet and letting the other person be. But it was from the point of view of you being weak. And the other person gets just more and more the upper hand, and they abuse you more and more.
Well,
so it actually doesn't stop
How to
that.
define strength?
Yeah.
so
Then I don't know, it's like,
It's not resisting.
So let me use the microphone here. Luckily, fortunately. So look, and there is something here to think about and analyse. That you have to really understand what this practice is encouraging you to do and what it's not encouraging you to do. You have to really understand that. So at the moment, I'll say that I've mentioned this. I've given some explanation. And it's something to contemplate over a long period of time to see if you understand why there would be any benefit in doing this. And it's not something that will happen overnight. But I mention it. So then we've got feeling dejected, feeling really low. And the next two, feeling dejected, feeling low. So there's an antidote to that. And one of the antidotes is to reflect on the circumstance of being a human, having human intelligence, having a human life, having this circumstance, let's say even on the physical level, being living in Australia, living in Melbourne, having these conditions, these circumstances, is very precious. So there is no basis to feel low and dejected and low self-esteem. So to contemplate those good conditions is an antidote to that sense of low self-esteem, feeling dejected and low and the Buddhist term for this is lacking courage. So the Buddhist term for this approach is to develop courage, which is a confidence based on reality of your circumstance, and then having a courageous mind to oppose a dejected and low mind. So this is another switch. It's a complicated switch where to understand the role of courage and determination based on the reality of our good conditions, to oppose a negative self-image or low self-esteem or feeling dejected and powerless. So it's another whole, I think, again, complicated area of transformation of attitude. Disturbed, peaceful, agitated, calm, distracted, focused, dull, lucid. The mind, looking in our mind when we do the meditation, experiencing a dullness and being attracted into a dullness of our experience, to overcome that by seeking lucid experience, clear, bright. So in our meditations in particular, focusing on the breath and having the breath appear clear and lucid, bright, definite. Really working on that aspect. Not thinking that meditation is a dull, sleepy softening of your awareness, but instead trying to strive for a bright, clear, lucid, vibrant mind in your meditation. Grasping and giving. So grasping to yourself, like Shantideva says, the two minds. There's the mind that says, now that I have this, it's the opportunity to give it to somebody else. And if I choose not to give it, then tomorrow comes and I've still got the thing. There's no benefit. There's been, there's no benefit from the possession of that object. And, the world is filled with a handful of people with billions of dollars stuck in banks or investments or something. It's quite clear there's no actual benefit to them from that wealth. It's just sort of sitting there, whereas like Shantideva says, that something that comes into your sphere, something that comes into your world that is your possession, the value is that you can give it to somebody, help somebody with it. And so instead we think that the value is in clasping and grasping onto it and holding it to ourselves, and we think that there's a value in that. But to analyse and see that there is no value in that.
With giving, can there be an element of unskillful giving? Because you can have the resources that you can give, but if you're giving and you're enabling another person to take advantage of, they're not taking responsibility for their lives. For me, that is like unskillful giving. So you have to use your wisdom when you're giving as well, even though you may have the resources to give, but if it's actually destructive for that other person, it's almost like you have to generate the wisdom also when you give skillfully.
Yeah, that's a theory. No, it's true. We have to be wise. We have to be wise. We have to be pragmatic. But while you're saying that, I was remembering a story. Unfortunately, the person in question has passed away now, but a student here was quite good friends with this person, and he'd gone to Geshe Doga saying, you know, I really want to help my friend. I won't say his name, but I really want to help him. You know, he hangs around, but you know, he drinks too much, he smokes too much, he's sort of got all these problems in his life, he's got all these disturbances. And he said, you know, what can I do for him? And Geshe Doga advised this student here, he said, be a friend and buy him cigarettes. You know? So, what you can give to, okay, of course there's going to be circumstances where you know that it's damaging, but sometimes the love and affection is greater than the harm that the cigarette will do. That friend, you know, giving the friendship is greater benefit than being high and mighty about the cigarettes. You know, so that's why we do have to be pragmatic. We have to be very careful. We have to be very wise. But sometimes, in the types of giving, you know, there's normally the three types of giving. Giving material, giving the teachings, and giving protection. You know, the saving lives as a type of giving. So there's normally that presentation of the three types of givings. Then in the sort of tantric explanation, they add the giving of love as a fourth type of giving. And I think sometimes that we need to really value the showing and the giving of love and affection to somebody as a beneficial action. So, and that's why sometimes the pragmatic thing can be, okay, what do you buy? What do you buy this person? Well, he wants cigarettes. Buy him some cigarettes, you know, but it's done out of affection and care, you know, that type of thing. So, yeah, look, and that's where we need wisdom. So, you know, uncontrolled to controlled, again, pretty aware, pretty straightforward. Unaware to mindful, distracted to introspection. You know, understanding the actual experience of our mind. Then I put these in reification. So reification is a word that means the making of a thing in our mind. So you know, I'm looking over here and I look over there and I see, what do I see? I see a white oblong-shaped thing. And my mind says, piece of paper. And it may even say handout. It might say, you know, flyer, whatever it is. Yes, so in that process, I have made a thing. Reification, res rei, Latin for thing. So I've made a thing, a thing. Sorry? Thingification. Identification. You know. Sorry? Well, that's something to be discussed, but the point is that it is a piece of paper. We don't deny that it's not a piece of paper, but my mind has made it such. This is a complicated topic, and I'm just introducing it here. So, you know, this is for future contemplation, these last 2 points. To understand dependent arising, how things appear, how they exist. And then the last one, conceptualization. So conceptualizing, and then to see the emptiness of conceptualizing, Again, a progressive switch or contemplation that in the future we can come to understand what that means. So many layers of future switching to be done. So So there is a long way to go for all of us. And maybe, has anybody got any questions or anything they'd like to say before we wrap up? Thank you. I think the way people have contributed today has been fantastic.
I have a question. You mentioned in the previous session, when you were trying to track down how the mind works, all these steps and steps, you said that when a person comes into the room, has an object, you're drawn to one. And somehow you made a connection that your actual mental engagement depends on your intention. And I just didn't see how that comes together.
No, it's called the mental factor of intention.
Yes,
the
intention determine, let's say my intention to come into the room, listen to the teachings.
No, that's a different intention. So technically it's called one of the 5 omnipresent mental factors, and it's called, in English, the mental factor of intention. Now, that's a name given to it that is as close as we can probably come in English to something that might indicate the meaning, but it is not the same. It's related to our general sense of intention, but our general sense of intention is something that we apply by decision to an activity. This is a mental factor of intention that is just arising constantly, and it is the ripening of our disposition to look at one thing in preference to another. But in terms of intention, from the point of view of a choice, there's not a lot of choice in this aspect of intention. Our mind is just pulled. It's sort of like it's pulled by the object to look at it and to engage with it. Seemingly pulled. So there is the ability to not have that happen, but to not have that happen, we need great awareness and mental control to be able to steer the mind to the object that we choose. And that's a difficult process.
So basically it would be like the ripening of my previous
Yes.
karma,
Yeah.
determines of my current, whether I would be stay or that way,
Yeah, and that's why if the question is asked, what is the meaning of karma, the answer is it's the mental factor of intention that draws your mind to an object.
More like I feel like the intention happened at the time when you did an action, and then when it ripens, it's no longer intention. It's actually more like a deposit of that intention, or an imprint of that intention.
Yeah. Well, I think you're mixing the. I think again you're mixing the general meaning of intention as a chosen motivation and this mental factor. I think the meaning is a bit different. But look, we can talk about that in the future at some point. But any other things?
Earlier on this morning, you said when we come in, we sit down, and when we're in here, just let your mind go.
Yeah, so...
When I walk into this room, my mind does one thing. When I walk into my house, my mind does something else.
Well, no, I think that's what that exercise demonstrated, is that...
It's a habit.
Yeah.
I know when I walk into the bunker, I'm coming here to rest my mind from what's going on outside. But when I go home, that's not what happens.
Yeah.
How do you change that?
Um,
Because it's habit.
yeah, well, it was an interesting exercise because it demonstrated in a way that merely entering this room and being in here, we've already disposed ourselves to trying to be calm. We've come in, and whether it's the room or our intention or whatever, we've come in and we are our mind is already disposed to be calm. And so when I said, I was genuine in the exercise I wanted to do, was I said, let your mind be free to do whatever it felt like. And I think most people controlled the mind and tried to stabilise and pacify the mind in that moment. You know, and maybe it's habituation for you that in this room that you recognise that it's better to pacify and stabilise your mind.
Because I want to do that at home. I want to walk in the house and then calm the mind.
Yeah, well,
That's not what happens.
you know, flick the switch. Flick the switch.
Sometimes it's the energy of people in a space.
Yeah.
And you can create that energy at home. Just sometimes it's your thoughts and what happens in the space.
Yeah.
Let it say
So let's focus. And so look, I really want to thank you all for your contributions and the way you've all engaged with each other and shared and talked. And really, it is really special. So let's do a quick meditation and imagine that the energy from everybody is like takes the form of a ball of white light. Then bring it above your own head. You know, all of the benefit from today, and let it dissolve down into you, completely filling your body and your mind, clear, unobstructed, free mind, body completely free of all difficulties. And then imagine all that positiveness gathering at your heart in the shape of a big egg. And then thinking about everybody else in the room and at home, all of your friends and family. Imagine the rays of light go out and bring them into a state of happiness. So actually feel that all of their mental and physical difficulties are eliminated, and their bodies and their mind become filled with light and clarity. And even to your so-called enemies or annoying people, and through to every living being, imagine sending out the benefits of today. You know, completely bringing every living being into a happy physical and a happy mental state. All of their difficulties and problems completely eliminated. Not leaving a single living being out, not excluding anybody. And then imagine that light coming back and dissolving into yourself, completely gathering back into yourself. And generate a great feeling of joy and delight at being able to visualize this. So, thank you very much.